Walk us through what award you have recently won and the whole process.
Okay.
How you feel, what it entails, what it takes to actually win that award. I won't mention it. You were the guest of honor, so talk us through that. Yeah.
It was a team effort. In fact, I want to say it was a country effort.
What do they usually say? Teamwork. Dreamwork is teamwork. Yes.
100%.
I got it right this time.
So I think, I'm a Mandela Road scholar, alumni now. So I entered into, there's different programs under the Mandela Roads as scholars, and I was able to. I'm a recipient. I'm a joint winner, actually, of the 2022 ANIT Prize, which supports initiatives that target the most marginalized communities or the most marginalized vulnerable populations in Africa. So I've given you the context now, so you see how Khantśa sort of comes in. But I wouldn't have been able to do this alone. I mean, if I look at my team, Kevin, Dennis, Ritumetse, we were able to come together and think about, how do we come together? And how do we use our strengths to bring this, birth this baby? How do we bring Khantśa to where it is? Which is, again, quite symbolic, which means to light up. But in this instance, Khantśa also means the idea of enlightenment.
Yeah.
Because we're also conscientizing people on energy access, energy poverty, indigenous knowledge, the idea that Lesotho we get to be ourselves and we get to be very proud of being Basotho in the space that is very renewable energy, indigenous knowledge. Being able to intersect those, because we have a lot to learn from indigenous knowledge all over the world. These indigenous people have been the custodians of sustainable development for a very long time. So yeah, back to the prize. It's going to allow us to do a lot more than we had anticipated starting off. So it's a grant. And it's basically going to allow us to electrify more homes, but also to build a repository of knowledge, but also to set ourselves up for, for more funding, for more a competitive edge. Entering the market with a grant like that really says we've announced ourselves, and that's something that we really want to also keep going at. So that's something that's quite big, also for the country, because when you get that international nod from experts all over the world, from experts who are kings and queens in their own right all over the world. We're stretching as far from the US. We're talking about people who are on global panels, who said yes to Khantśa, who said yes to Lesotho, who said yes to us. So that already speaks volumes of where we want to go. And 100%. So we're in this space, and beyond just the prize, it's also about the idea of runway and the idea that we want to at least bring Lesotho on the map while we still have this runway before we take off. Bring Lesotho on the map. People are having these conversations around Lesotho. I was at COP27 just now. The Lesotho delegation hosted their own panel. I don't think people understand the gravity of that situation. There's also a person in the delegation, Mokwana France, who is one of Africa's lead negotiators. Why are we not reporting on those things? This is where Lesotho is at, you know? And I think also just to bring it down to young people, to bring it down to conscientizing people about the importance of climate change and where Lesotho stands and where Lesotho stands to gain. Imagine if we became an example for the rest of the world on what it means to be a renewable energy producer, but doing it in the right way as well, because it's not enough for us to replicate the idea of fossil fuels where there's an exclusionary process, there's no civic participation. When we implement renewable energy solutions, sustainable interventions, we also need free, prior and informed consent from those communities before we go in there.
Wow.
That's something very important that we don't think about. Where are these, we talk about, I'll use an example of the distribution. Where are those power lines going to go? That's people's land.
You
think about solar power, Have you the solar power being built on arable land? What do those communities do now? People being displaced because of major dam projects. Where do those communities go? Even if there was some sort of consultation and they agreed, does that compensation really, does money really compensate you for what you've lost because of the Highlands Water Project, for instance?
Sure.
So, it's not just Lesotho, this is happening all over the world. So as we implement sustainable solutions, we can't replicate systems of exclusion that have already been, grounded on fossil fuels. Then, we're just replicating the same wheel, right? So all of these things come into the aspect. So it was a big win for Lesotho community,
done.
raising awareness. So,
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. So we're definitely out of time for this particular episode because, like we mentioned, there's so much more to do and to cover. And I'm just sitting here thinking, my goodness, I need to do a lot more research in terms of climate change. So in closing, I've got 2 questions, and I think we have less than a minute left.
Shoot.
The first one is, as Mr. Monaheng, what would you say is your biggest financial blunder? It's a Money Adventures podcast after all. So what would you say? Well, it could be this week. It could be your entire life. It could be whatever. What would you say is your biggest financial blunder?
Okay.
And then the second question is, in fact, it's not a question. What do you say to a young person watching this episode on climate change? What can they do if they want to get into the space that you are in at the moment?
So on the financial side, I think my biggest blunder has been the lack of planning. You know, as a young person, you don't plan for your own personal finances. You're stuck there thinking, where did my money go? You know, so I think that, and I also, the work that you do also educates people on that. So kudos for that as well, you know. So I think for young people, having that financial planning, that personal budgeting, that's something very important. I've been more savvy now, understanding where you start working and you realize, hang on, I can afford these things. Expenses cannot surpass income. That took me so long to understand. You want all these nice things, but you're not, saving. So I'm very comfortable right now financially. I'm really happy, and this is something that took me a while to get there, but we have to grow. At some stage, adulting is very hard.
It is. It's ridiculously hard. Yeah.
But that's not the advice I'm giving to young people, because adulting is already hard. But I think, there's a quote that I live by, and it's built on my grandfather's teachings, my mom's teachings, my brother's advice each time I meet him. It's embrace the individual you are, and don't be a follower that mankind conditions you to be.
Repeat that again, because that is deep.
Okay.
Embrace
the individual you are. Do not be a follower that mankind conditions you to be.
Wow.
Right? It means...
Drops mic. Anyway, continue.
This looks expensive, so
it is expensive.
For me, that basically means keep pushing, keep going. Being a good person, doing the right thing is so rewarding. But keep pushing, keep going. And that's all I have to say. Just keep embracing and entering in spaces as you are. And we talked about this before the podcast, that people love Basotho. People love who we are. We're literally one of the most unique human beings on the planet. Enter in those spaces. Don't shy. Don't look down on yourself. Don't nap on yourself.
On yourself. So many of us are napping on ourselves.
We stay. So that's literally it. And it's the only thing that's really kept me going. That finding purpose and letting purpose just drive me. I'm operating in my gift right now.
Operating in your gift.
That's literally, you'll see
operating your gift.
You'll see the things that come to you when you operate in your gift.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
And then in closing, if people want to connect with you, where do they find you? Obviously, I will link all that in the description box below.
Hundreds.
But where do people find you? Platforms, socials, the whole shebang.
Cool. Find Khantśa before you find me.
Sure.
Khantśa Energy, KHANTSA, Khantśa, right? Khantśa Energy. And on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Me, Koaile _Mona on Instagram. I also just started Twitter. I know I'm really slow. Please don't come at me. I have 2 followers on Twitter.
It's fine.
So that's where you find us. And I'm really excited to be really privileged. You have an amazing team working with you, and I really, really feel grounded in the space. So thank you for making this possible.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. And you guys know the drill by now. This conversation cannot be shared enough. So do the right thing. Share it with your friends, your family. Share it with the government, because I know the Prime Minister actually spoke about climate change as one of his key initiatives. So please share this video with as many people as possible so that we are enlightened. And so let's get that information and let's be enlightened. Climate change is a big issue. And as Basotho, as Africans, we need to do our part to educate and empower ourselves so that we are in those spaces with the right information. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, your family, your frenemies. We want them as well. And then, of course, leave a comment below and let us know, what do you actually know about climate change, especially in the Lesotho context. And until the next video, which he should be back for a part 2 of this conversation, love, peace, and money. Signing out. Cheers, guys.